I realize Knox County currently boasts a 2.8% unemployment rate. You know, when I was going to school, we thought 5% was full employment. I think that's changed. With such a constrained workforce pipeline, let's get right to it. Ask you, what innovative techniques have you used to recruit new employees? And when Julie's gets done, we'll go right down the row with the same question and back to Brian then. Julie, go ahead.
Thanks, Amy. That's a great question, and it's something that we talk about multiple times every day, because it is definitely a challenge to be able to fill the openings that we have. Most of you probably have heard that there is a national nursing shortage, and so we are looking at the speed in which we make our offers, because we understand from a clinical environment that talent has options. And so we have increased the speed at which we make offers to those external hires. We also are looking at leveraging our superstars that we have as part of our team, and letting them promote some of the openings that they have in their departments, even if they're a nurse or maybe if they're a respiratory therapist. They may not necessarily be the hiring manager, but we're encouraging them and we're training them on how to use social media so that they can promote their manager, promote their department, promote the openings, promote the culture and the teamwork that they have within their units. We also are looking at a boomerang campaign. We understand that sometimes people leave our organization maybe thinking that the grass is greener on the other side, or maybe they are looking at some of the travel opportunities that are out there for the clinical staff right now, but maybe they want to come back at some point. And so we are trying to stay in contact with those team members that leave us. And we also are encouraging our managers that how you treat someone when they do decide to leave makes a big difference, because they may get to that new role, they may get to that new workplace, and they may decide that maybe this is not really what it's all cracked up to be. Maybe this is a different culture. Maybe it really wasn't so bad where I was. Maybe I miss my team, I miss my manager. And so the way that relationship is, especially when someone leaves, it's going to determine how that person is going to pick up the phone, send a text, send an email back to that manager or the team leader or a coworker there to say, hey, can I come back? I'd like to come back, and I miss you guys. So that's another thing. And then this is really a no-brainer, but it's something that we also have done because we know that employee referrals are really strong, can make really great team members. We've enhanced that as well, both on the clinical side as well as on the support side.
All right. Thank you, Julie. Matt?
From an innovative standpoint, over the last couple of years, recruiting has been very difficult because we have been unable to go out to universities and academic environments for career fairs. Same thing for association meetings and things of that route. So we really participated a lot in virtual career fairs. We found that very successful because we didn't lose contact with some of the people during that downtime. As far as really from a recruiting standpoint, there's not much we wouldn't do to go out and find candidates. Everything from social media to meeting someone in a supermarket and waiting in line. It's anytime you have contact with someone who's a potential candidate for your organization. So you want to be a good steward for your organization. You want to find out what is this person's background, skill set, would they fit well within your organization. And we are doing direct mail campaigns. We are posting jobs on every imaginable website you can think of. We make sure that we have our managers and our employees share as much as they can on their social media, especially good news about the organization or creative things that are going on. We want them to know that it's an exciting place to work. There's no other place like Oak Ridge National Laboratories that does the things that we do and the research that we do. So it's an exciting place. For me, it's like being back on a college campus. I've worked in a lot of different environments in the public sector as well as the private sector, and it's just an exciting place to work, and there's a lot of really bright minds there. And I just always tell people when I walk in the room, I just always assume everyone in the room is smarter than I am. And I try to pull some of that knowledge out of everybody that's in the room and just ask them, hey, where did we find you? How did you get here? How did we hook you in and get you in the organization? And who do you know? And so we really want to reach out, and we love referrals. We love people to refer their friends, their family, their coworkers, people that they've worked with in the past. I just, people that I've worked with, I let them know how awesome it is to work there. Hopefully it'll encourage them to take a look at the organization as well. I actually just spoke to my former chief human resource officer a couple of days ago, and he was asking me what the environment was like here. He's also he used to be general counsel, and he knew I had a general counsel position open. So it's always good to know that, you don't close those doors, but anything you can do recruiting-wise, we're willing to do it within the legal law. So.
Okay, thank you. Rebecca?
So as you know, it is a candidate-driven market, and what can you do as an employer to elevate yourself or set yourself apart? The first thing I think you've got to do is, what is your employer proposition? What are you going to bring to your candidates, and then sell on that? A couple of things that we have done, unique to DeRoyal, I believe, is we've utilized a lot of our internal resources for recruiting. We have a lot of internal promotional opportunities, not only in the U.S., but we also have Latin American facilities. So we provide a recruiting portal where you get to come to the U.S. for a year. And it's an application process to go into our plant management training program or a computer technology program. And then you're guaranteed an elevated position once you return to your Latin American country. And that's been an extremely beneficial program. And that goes both ways, where we'll allow our U.S. employees to work in our manufacturing locations in Latin America as well. And that's been a huge benefit. Employee referrals, as you've heard the other panel members mention, it's huge. Your employees are your best advocates, and they really do a fantastic job. We've also done some different things in how we are attracting different generations, and probably the most unique and the best outcome we've had is text to recruit. We found that millennials will talk to you all day via text, not so much email and a phone call. We've gotten tons of response very quickly, and been able to really communicate and get interviews set up via text. Funny story, a couple of weeks ago, we did a text reply to an applicant who was a little on the older side, and he wanted to know, was the text a robot? So a little different based on generations there. We also do a Loyal to DeRoyal program. That's a sign-on bonus for you coming to work for us. It's also a retention bonus that accrues each year up until you reach your 20th year with the company. You're getting additional money every year for working with us and continuing to grow your tenure. And so those are a couple of different things I feel like were innovative for us for the company.
Thank you. Brian?
Thank you. So, it's an interesting question. I think my colleagues have all covered a lot of the territory that I think is important. One of the things that we've seen shift in a post-COVID environment with the recruitment is the idea that people need and/or want or seeking flexibility in terms of a workplace. They are looking for the opportunity to have their cake and eat it too, if you will, right? So how can I handle a load of clothes as well as manage my work day during the day from where I sit, or remote? So I think remote work is a thing that we found as a necessity during the COVID environment, but now we're finding it as a reality of what we're going to have to contend with in terms of competing for talent. Heretofore, for an institution of higher education, remote work was just sort of laughable, right? We had some distant edge courses, we were doing some things, but we're largely brick and mortar based organization, right? And so our students are typically on campus. Our services are typically on campus. So we had a huge mind shift around what people needed in a post-COVID environment. So I think there are a couple of things that have really informed our thinking around this. Because we are now competing in a more global and not so localized community, we have to really be more flexible in our thinking around how broad do we span our net, right, in terms of our recruitment capability. What are we doing to reach beyond our typical pools? How are we leveraging not only pay, but someone mentioned it earlier, what's the employee experience that people can really tout about your organization? How many people are saying, we rate your company on a scale from 1 to 10, a 10, right? How many in your organization are saying, no, you're about a 1 or a 2? Brand ambassadorship is huge as it relates to recruiting. And so I don't know that it's so much about innovation, but I think it is really more leveraging what we've learned, lessons learned in the environment that we're in. And so, that's one of the things, the leveraging of technology as well. How many of y'all have played on Hollywood Squares since you've been in the pandemic environment, right? Zoom. I'm speaking about Zoom. So as you think about the utilization of Zoom as a mandatory way of getting work done, now we've had to switch our gears and think about how do we still leverage that technology to make contact during the recruitment and talent acquisition process that makes it easier and gives us a broader reach point to the populations that we're trying to either go after and recruit, right? And so I think we're in a larger fishbowl, if you will, for talent. And we are all competing for talent. O&L steals from me daily. I steal from them daily. People are, I just want to be real about our talent woes here in terms of recruitment. People have choices now. And so they are leveraging their choices. What's important to employees and or potential employees has shifted dramatically over the last 3 years. And so old, outdated recruitment strategies no longer are relevant in work. And so we've got to continually think about how do we reinvent, how do we stay in tune to what's important. Someone else mentioned an exit process. When people leave your organization, what can they tell you about why they did? We're losing a lot of people to remote work because we don't have it fully remote, right? We have flexibility, but we've not advertised anything as a 100% remote job. Well, people who leave my organization, for those who can see an increase in pay and can also have that flexibility that they're looking for without moving, right? They could be paid in this market working in Boston. So there's a recruitment strategy that we've all got to reconcile and contend with. I think we're all doing our best at shifting our mindsets to a futuristic mindset versus a traditional in terms of this area. So that's what I can offer.
Great. So remote work, flexibility, that's now a benefit that folks are negotiating. Matt, let's start with you then. What other wage and benefit changes or packages are you using to help with recruitment and retention?
Well, I'll start by saying I've lost 2 people in my own department since I started, and they were both very apologetic, but they said, I've got the opportunity for flex work. I don't have that in my current organization. I actually went upstairs to executive leadership and fought and said, come on, guys, you got to give me some kind of flexibility. They said, we don't have that right now. And I lost 2 people to our competitors who did offer a flex work capability. So it is real. I feel the pain in my own department as well as across the organization, and it is something we contend with. My organization feels it because the company that I just left has said, hey, we know you're living in Tennessee, but come back and work for us. And I said, no thanks, but they'll pay me my same California wage as I stay here in Tennessee if I don't move and just continue to work for them. So it's something that we're going to compete with, we're going to have to contend with, and I don't know that there's an actual answer. Yeah. I was trained early on. I spent my first 10 years as an executive recruiter working for 2 of the largest world's executive recruiting firms. So I was a true headhunter. We couldn't advertise positions, and we actually had to go out confidentially and tap people on the shoulder, theoretically, and call them, and people hung up on you a lot, but You had to just say, hey, you know, my name's Matt Elam. I'm an executive recruiter. I'm confidentially working on an executive search, and we'd like to talk to you. And I was trained as we were going in that process. We didn't talk about compensation up front. And I have carried that through my career. I want to talk to candidates about their career. I want to talk to them about progression. I want to talk to them about the environment that we're going to work in, the exciting work that we do. Compensation will be there, and that's kind of what I pass along to my recruiters. The compensation eventually will be there. Let's not sell compensation, and let's not upsell compensation. With that being said, I think every organization that I've spoken to, every recruiter that I've spoken to, has all said that every company has had to increase their compensation. They've had to, if they didn't, they just would lose long-term employees. The company that I just previously left, which was an aerospace and defense firm, we were offering our recruiters $20,000 incentives to stick around for 18 months. So we would give them $10,000 to stay, and we would give them $10,000 if they stayed for the full 18 months. I mean, that's what we had to do just to retain just our recruiting division, because we were being ravaged by our competitors, the Lockheed Martins and the Boeings and the SpaceXs of the world. So we were passing out retention bonuses just to hold on to our recruiters, so that our recruiters were able to go out and pull people from companies. So it's kind of a vicious circle, but we increased our compensation across the board. We were doing sign-on or retention incentives. We were doing everything from flex work capability, anything we could to keep our employees happy and willing to stay. At Oak Ridge National Laboratories, we're not passing out retention incentives, but we are trying to be flexible. We are upselling, what we do offer, which is a world-class organization, world-class research. It's a world-class facility. It's a very safe work environment. There's a lot of amenities on site. It's one of the best places that I've ever visited, much less worked. So it's a great opportunity. But I work with my compensation team every week. I meet with them every week, and we talk about everything from adding additional vacation to encourage people to come on board. We do have sign-on incentives when we do have people that come work for us. We're even looking at referral bonuses and things of that nature. But you have to pass incentives, but I think it's going to reach a plateau at some point. It's got to reach a point where someone says, look, we want talent. We want people who are happy to be here and not here just for the money. Because I think people who are buying talent, I think that's going to hurt them in the long term. Yeah. If you're buying talent, if you're paying for it, you'll lose it to someone else who's going to come along and buy them from you, and it just drives up the market. I think you want, for culture purposes, you want people who believe in the organization. You want people who really want to work there and enjoy their work environment and believe in the overall product of what you're making.
So being a medical device manufacturing company, we have sort of a hybrid approach. What will work well at our professional corporate office doesn't necessarily work well in manufacturing. So we've had to split sort of our incentives and what would work best in each different location. So from a corporate perspective, we're a 50-year-old privately held business, and the philosophy has always been you're not working unless you're in office. So the pandemic hit, and what do? We spent a very, very, very quick but long hours and days to gear up for our company to work remote. And it worked very, very well. So now that we came back into office, we're working on a hybrid remote schedule. So 2 days a week, employees get a choice. Everyone has to be in office on Monday. They have to sort of get the week plan together, and then they choose 2 days that they are out of office. And the other thing that we implemented is we are casual dress. And that was a huge incentive for employees. People love jeans and tennis shoes. But that was one thing that we implemented. We've done the wage increases as well across the company. We've done waiting period reductions for benefits. We've increased our vacation. We've done all of sort of those perks and those programs that you'll hear probably everyone on the panel mention. For manufacturing, it was a little different because we are doing medical devices. We have to be in business. We have to have employees there. So what could we do that would be an incentive for them? And we asked them, what would you like? And they said, we'd like to have our weekends back because the last year and a half we've worked tons of overtime because we manufactured PPE programs that went around the world. And we were working a lot of Saturdays. So we said, would you like to change your schedule? We'd do 4/10s. And we implemented that, and it has been absolutely fantastic. The attitude, the culture, their interaction, attendance, everything has increased. And if we do have to work overtime, it's half days on Fridays, and employees have their full weekend, and that's been a huge incentive. We also implemented micro markets into our manufacturing facilities, so think of open air convenience stores where you can grab chips and drinks and Tylenol, and in the winter, we'll stock it with milk and bread, so you don't have to run to the store on your way home. You can actually have some conveniences in the office before you leave. So we've done a lot of those things just to try to think outside of the box a little different for what each of our different segments of our organization would benefit from and enjoy, and it differentiates us.
Rebecca, that's interesting. I was sharing with some coworkers, you know, everybody's got those social media communities, threads. And the number one thing I saw somebody mention a manufacturer, it's not DeRoyal, but the number one complaint they had was mandatory overtime and weekend work. That was, that didn't matter, the money wasn't important, but that really was. So, Brian, I think, where did we start? We started Matt? We can start either one. Julie, or go ahead, Julie, you got the mic.
He's being such a gentleman and.
You got the mic, go
Yeah,
ahead.
Okay, all right. So just really ditto to many of the things that, that my colleagues have already mentioned, but like Rebecca said too, we ask our team members what they want, and we do those pulse surveys throughout the year, and really we look for those things that we can really say yes to, some of that low-hanging fruit. I know that the slide that was shown earlier says that there's 4 generations in the workplace. We actually have 5. You have to be 18 to work at the medical center, but we have folks that stay and stay and stay, and we've got some really long tenure there. And we even have people that retire and they stay on, and so we just the dedication is just unbelievable. We also have increased wages. We specifically increased our minimum wage. We did our first increase in 2020, and then we just implemented a new minimum wage in February of $15 an hour. That's the lowest wage on our campus. And like we've already talked about, the flexible work arrangements have been huge. For my own department, we had an HRIS analyst position that we posted in December. We received, in the job description, it talks about flexible work arrangements. We received 6 applications. We went back, we changed the job to HRIS analyst remote 100%. We received 50 applications, and we were able to, we ended up hiring 2 people from that, and that was phenomenal. So I think that yes, the flexibility is important, and as Rebecca was also saying, really just trying to open your mind to those. It's new for a lot of people that you really can get your laundry done and get your work done, maybe even more work than when you're in the office. So just changing some mindset there as well. One other thing that we did. And of course, you know, running a hospital, we can't close at noon on Tuesdays and Thursdays because we don't have enough staff. We have, specifically in response to the pandemic, we temporarily changed our PTO policy to allow our team members to go into the negative. And that was really huge, especially for those new team members that were joining us that maybe unfortunately got sick, or they got quarantined because of somebody in their family, or maybe they're just a new team member and they have something planned in the future. And so we really recognized that time off was important, and so we temporarily changed that as well. But we are always looking at our benefits, always looking at the market and studying that and making changes and looking for innovative ways to really be a differentiator in the market.
All right, so Amy, this is a good question. They've covered flexibility, right? Now, the remote notion of work. Uniquely for us, we're a state institution, so we are governed by state benefits programs. It's a very rich program, but that's part of our selling point. We also offer tuition discounts, right, and or ways that lighten the load for employees in terms of being able to invest in their own education. We also know that one of the things that we haven't been really good at is advertising something that we have as a employee discount program. So as a part of the state, we are a member of something called Perk Spot. And so I give this example all the time. The refrigerator that I bought when I moved here 2.5 years ago, had I been a part of this Perk Spot program, I would have saved $500 off the purchase of that refrigerator for my home. That's huge when you talk about a day-to-day, what's the real impact of my income? And so what does it mean? How do you really think about that employee value proposition, and how do you toot your own horn without blowing it as an employer, right? About here are the benefits for working with us that are beyond pay, flexibility being one, but also how do you, again, talk about what is your employee experience going to be as a member of this organization? So if I join UT, am I dreading going to work every day, or am I having a great day? Is it a fun walk to get to the office, right? And so I think it's all about beyond just the dollars and cents. What's important, again, to people, and how do we reach them where they are in terms of that level of importance. Again, I think the thing about compensation, we reviewed our compensation structure last year, did a major overhaul. At the end of the day, people are pulling things out of every hat there is. So comp is not the only driving factor now. In fact, it could be people who will take a pay cut if remote work is there, right? Particularly 100%. We're saying the opposite of that, but I'm telling you that I know it exists out there in terms of really understanding the impact of remote work. Just the advertisements alone, as you mentioned, Julie, I mean, it's huge. And getting leadership to truly reckon with, we are no longer the same organization we used to be, and we've got to change it up. People think, all right, COVID is over, we're going right back to where we started. Not anymore. Not if you really want to be competitive in this market. So it's a different landscape, and we've just got to reckon with that.
So one of the things that we're lucky in Knoxville to have an elite public university like University of Tennessee. We have fantastic community colleges. How are you creating partnerships or programming or kind of tapping into that talent in order to kind of create your own talent pipelines? And Rebecca, let's start with you.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest incentives, is that we live in an area where we do have so much academic talent and resources. And we've partnered in a couple different ways. I'll start with the University of Tennessee so I won't get hurt sitting up here. We utilize their engineering and supply chain departments annually. We have a rotation of interns that work in our group every year, and so it's not just summer interns, it's year round. So it's based on the student's schedule and what they can work, and I will tell you that has been one of the best recruiting sources that we've had. In fact, each year we have a different student that works in our engineering and supply chain department. We've most recently hired 2 full-time after they graduated, and they were freshmen when they did their internships with us. So it's been a great experience. We do a lot of technical schools as well. We are a sponsor company for the Give Grant with Pellissippi, and they have a great electromechanical and automation technology program, and we've partnered with them to speak to their students, to collaborate. We host tours just to show what the manufacturing industry is. It's highly automated in the products that we are making, so it's a little different than just doing assembly work. So it truly does take a lot of technical and mechanical interaction. And so those partnerships have been great, along with the Tennessee College of Applied Technology. Those regional schools are great resources. And I don't want to forget Knox County schools. The high schools, for students who do not plan to go to college, they are a great resource to work with, just to demonstrate and show there's other positions that may not require a college degree that you would enjoy. And, you know, again, sometimes manufacturing has a stigma with it that you're not going to earn great compensation. There's not a career path with that. And we really like to do tours with the high schools to show them that there really is a difference in manufacturing today, and you have a lot of opportunities. So if you're not engaging with our local colleges, please do so. It's a wonderful resource.
Go ahead.
Just we'll go in order here. It was exciting when I got in my position here. I went and met with all the department heads, and I have a standard set of questions I start with, and then it goes into a much deeper conversation. But I always ask, you know, where did you go to school? You know, how did you end up here? Who do you recruit from? Where do you get your best employees? Of course, you know, we're a research institution, so we're doing nuclear research. We are doing fission and fusion. We're doing environmental research. So we have a lot of postdoctoral candidates. The good thing that I really enjoyed hearing is every person that I met with first said UT. Every one of them said, we have a really good partnership and a relationship with UT. We get a lot of great employees, a lot of our postdoctoral research people. We just have a good relationship with UT, which to me was exciting because in my last position, I found myself flying a lot to MIT or to Purdue in Indiana and other places where I was trying to build partnerships, where here it's right down the road. And they didn't just stop with UT, but they would talk about all the other local universities and organizations that we try to partnership with. We do feel like we need to make an investment in the community. We're part of the community, and we definitely start here local. Of course, we have STEM programs. We have skilled labor programs that we work out with some of our unions. So it runs the board, but any institution, we do everything we can to reach out in partnership and recruit locally. We feel we're a local company, local organization, I guess I should say. We're run by the Department of Energy, but local is the best way to go.
Julie?
So we also take advantage of some of the regional universities here. We have a great relationship with University of Tennessee. Obviously, that's part of our brand that's on our building, and we have several people from the university that are on our board, and so that helps to forge that great relationship with the University of Tennessee. But we recruit regionally and nationally, and as part of our DE&I efforts, we also are looking at ways from the high school standpoint, even into the middle school standpoint, of ways that we can look at some of the underserved population to provide some employment opportunities for those young men and women, especially getting them to think about healthcare, not just doctors and nurses. And of course, they're very, very important to running our medical center, but we also have just so many jobs that are needed to run a large health system like we have here. So that's kind of something that's a little bit different for us.
I think it's interesting, probably if you'd said 5 or 10 years ago, we're going to let kids on our manufacturing floor, we're going to let kids in the hospital, you would have said no way, or in the lab, you know, and now it's necessary. Yeah. Is it any easier if you're already on campus?
So actually it is. So we have all the resources right in our backyard, right? And so for me, a good example would be from an HR perspective, we partner directly with the Haslam College of Business on UTK's campus, and we utilize internships in our own offices. And so recently, literally in the past 2 weeks, I have negotiated with an intern to take on one of our new learning and development consultant roles in our employment and organizational development area. And again, it's growing your own talent and then leveraging their ability to see themselves in your organization beyond graduation. So I think it's really a good thing to have homegrown talent where they're already connected from a cultural perspective, and they can appreciate the brand and carry it forward on the other side as an employee, right? And so it's really a wonderful opportunity for us. So it's a little easier when it's in your own backyard, right? And I can call and tap into pockets of where I know talent exists. And if we're looking for student experiential learning opportunities, the internships really give us an opportunity to do the partnerships that we're talking about here, but also internally that helps, again, improve the value proposition for future opportunities of employment.
Yep, great. I'm going to take a little chamber commercial. If you're a small, medium-sized business and you're thinking about an internship but don't know where to start, please connect with Lauren Longmire, who came up and did. We've got a lot of resources. She can consult with you one-on-one. And for students, we're telling our employers to look on Handshake. So if you're not on Handshake and looking for internships there, please do, because that's what we're encouraging our employers to do. So back to you all, out-of-market talent. You've got to not only sell your organization, but you've got to sell Knoxville, right? And so how do you do that, and what attributes about Knoxville seem to resonate with people? And I think we're back to you going first now, and we'll go back down the line.
Well, I think Knoxville in and of itself, who wouldn't love it, right? I mean, it's a beautiful place to be. It's I think it's its own selling point once a person comes and visits it. I think the hard part is how do we toot our own horn, again, without blowing it, in a way that really speaks to those nuggets about Knoxville. More importantly, though, I think that you can be in a great place in terms of a city or a locale, but if you're working for a crappy employer, it makes no difference where you are in terms of the city. Does that make sense? So I think I've got to be careful that I don't say and oversell. Knoxville is a great place. I'm all over it. But at the end of the day, my organization is in Knoxville, and so what's the life experience again for them when they come to work versus just what's there? So we use the lakes, we use all the outdoor life, we use all the ideas that we're close to the Smokies. We've got, there's so many different things that are draws to this area, but those are things that people can do after work, right? But what's their experience going to be during work? And so I think that's also a piece that I struggle with that question a bit, because I just don't want to oversell city, 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 or location, 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 without understanding that quality of life and or balance, work-life balance in your workplace, all work and no play changes the game, right? And so I just want to emphasize that. That's what I'd offer.
Okay. Julie, you recruit from out of market?
Yeah, and I just landed a candidate today from Colorado. Got a text on the way here. I was super happy about that. Knoxville is easy to sell. All of the things that you talked about with outdoors, and it's a good place to live. The cost of living from the standpoint really around taxation is something that is people really are attuned to. But I do agree that as far as our brand and being an academic medical center, that's really, sometimes people are searching for that anyway. They want to be a part of that. They want to be a part of the reputation that we have. They want to be in a learning environment, like that we were connected to the UT Health Science Center, Graduate School of Medicine, all those kinds of things. Yes, they're looking for growth opportunities, but really and truly, the part about Knoxville is really the easy part, and it makes it very easy. And you guys at the Chamber are great with your resources, and that we can go online and look at, and it's great help.
Now, before the other two are going to have a tougher part to this question, because I do think it's fairly easy for a mid-level person that's got a family, so you're going to come in. It's been harder for the young professionals. We haven't really grown as a region in that very kind of recent college graduates. how are you kind of zeroing in on those folks who want to go to Nashville and Atlanta and to the big city, or are you just waiting for them to have a couple kids and then we'll try to go get them, you know?
Yeah, you did throw me for a loop. I'm one of those, I look back, you know, when I was younger, I know I don't sound like it, I was born in Tuscaloosa in Alabama, okay? So I'm originally from the Southeast, and I couldn't wait to get out of a college town in Alabama. I didn't drink the Kool-Aid, I wasn't a big Alabama fan, big disappointment to my family and my dad especially. Then my sister went to Auburn, so that kind of took me off the hook. She's the black sheep now, but you know, I left a college town and I said, you know, I've got to see the world, and I have. I've been very lucky. I've been fortunate enough. If you saw my bio, I've traveled to over 40 different countries. I had a military career that spanned, you know, over 23 years. I lived in Italy for 3 years, and where else can a kid from Alabama, you know, go live in Italy for 3 years? And lived in Africa for a year. And then I've spent a majority of my career either in Texas or on the West Coast. So I've experienced living in the Seattle area, living in the Sacramento area, San Francisco area. So I spent some time in Washington, D.C. I guess I should say that as well. I'd spent some time on the East Coast as well. When the opportunity was presented to me at Oak Ridge National Laboratories, specifically for Knoxville, it was a no-brainer. It is a great town. It was an easy sell to my wife. It was an easy sell to my family, and it was an absolute easy sell when I spoke to my coworkers in California and said, you don't understand, I've been to Knoxville on a number of occasions. It's an awesome town. Been to a lot of ball games here. I have a lot of friends who have season tickets to the UT games, so looking forward to that. We've got a great local minor league baseball team. There's a lot to do. I'm a big outdoors person, so if I'm not on my mountain bike or trail running or swimming or fishing or something outside, we have it here. So Knoxville's an easy sell. I don't know that there's anything you can do to the new college, tell the new college grad who's getting out of school, stick here in the local town, because they might have to just go out and experience what the world is like in other places and then realize how great of a town Knoxville really is. I had an interview earlier this week, I think it was on Monday, young lady who was living in another state, who graduated from UT, who left the area. She's been gone about 8 years, and she said, I want to get back home to Knoxville. That was the third interview I've had in the last 2 weeks for people who used to be here, who grew up in the area, who are either living in Texas, or they're living in the DC area, or they're living on the West Coast, who said, get me back to Knoxville. And they're begging me to hire them and bring them to Oak Ridge. So I don't know that there's anything we can tell them other than if they just want to listen to some old guy tell you that, look, I've been all over the world, I've seen a lot of things, and Knoxville's one of the best places you can live, and you could do a lot worse. So I would say that might be a lesson they might have to learn on their own. I didn't listen to my parents, so that might be a hard-learned lesson.
Yeah, Rebecca, how are you dealing with that challenge?
So I grew up, I'm the hometown girl. I grew up in Morristown, which was just about 45 minutes east of Knoxville. Knoxville was the big city for me, so it's easy to sort of sell that because that's what I wanted to come to as well. One of the things that we do in interviewing, certainly for millennials and first job applicants to sell Knoxville, is find out what it is they like to do, because Knoxville does have something for everyone. We've found a lot of millennials are looking just to be social. They are wanting to get into an area. They're wanting to connect with groups, whether it's a bicycle club or an arts community of some sort, and just engaging and connecting those individuals with those types of associations and organizations is an attraction. So when you're interviewing your candidates, find out some things. What do you like to do for fun? What's some hobbies? As you go out to dinner as part of your interviewing process, if you do that, you can start to really hone in on some of those specifics. And the Chamber does a great job in providing you details and information. And in fact, I was telling, I think, Lauren, this story several months ago. We actually targeted a few folks in California that were in a technical role, And I called their chamber in a specific city and said, you know, what do you have there? What are some industries there? And I was able to contact a couple of employees that worked in that area and entice them based on what Knoxville had to offer. These were 25-year-old employees, and they loved Knoxville so much that they packed up and moved here. And it was basically because we could find out what they enjoyed and what they wanted to do, and we could sell the city as well as our company, and creating that work-life balance for sure. But I think you've got to find out generationally, because each generation is looking for something different, especially when you're relocating and moving. And we also hear, too, tons of folks wanting to move back now that you can work anywhere, but folks are wanting to come back to Knoxville.
She's, at the chamber, we're kind of stalking markets like that to recruit. I'm glad to know we're not the only ones, yeah. We're really working hard. Brian, do you have anything to add to that? We started with you. Yeah. Did we get everybody on that question?
I think we did.
Okay. We've got some good questions left, but we are out of time. But let's open up just for 2 or 3 questions. If anybody's got, yes, ma'am. Lauren's coming around this way.
Hi, I'm Leslie Walton, and I work in the University of Tennessee Center for Career Development. So, Amy, thank you for the handshake plug. I appreciate that. If anyone's hiring, come see me. I'm happy to help. And thank you all for being here and sharing. My question is, for really anybody, are you thinking about recruiting other majors or skill sets? Because the market is so competitive, have you expanded in like the types of students or new grads that you're considering, especially in this age where we have to adapt quickly to new technologies and learn new skills on the job quite a bit anyways? Has that changed the types of people that you may be looking for?
I'll take first stab at that. I think that yes, and yes, right? In terms of, I think we're forced to think more broadly about transferable skills. In terms of not just what the job description's looking for. As we peruse resumes and talent pools, believe it or not, even in the many jobs that we all have, we were talking earlier, sometimes our talent pools are so sparse that we're having to really either cast a broader net or really think about what do I have to choose from in the selection. And so it does force us to rethink, all right, is that really a mandatory skill set that I've got to have, or can I train a person up to be in that, right? So I think about foundational skill sets as opposed to specific, right? And are people presenting themselves via resume in a way that says they are teachable, right? And that we can expand. So I think about expansion capability. As I look at a resume as well. I will also take a look at a resume that came in for one job that doesn't apply to that job and say, wait a minute, have you thought about another opportunity? So really changing our whole attitude toward active recruitment as well. So we typically will do a passive recruitment through advertisements, but we also keep those resumes that look interesting and could be a match in other places as well. So yes, I think it's a call of the day for us.
Yeah, I would agree that you have to broaden your mind for accepting of some different types of majors, some different types of experience, looking for those transferable skills. And one thing also, we employ 5,200 team members at the University of Tennessee Medical Center. We're like a little city over there across the river. But one thing too that we're looking at is looking internally at our talent, looking at our own team members as filling those roles. They could be those internal transfers for the future. And I think that one of the things that we've done is we've looked at, again, we're employing a broad spectrum of different kinds of people, different kinds of skill sets, different levels of education. And so what we've done is we've created an umbrella for training and development and just overall education on our campus. And we've divided that into 3 areas. We've looked at the foundations, skill building, and also growing as a leader. And we took our existing programs that we have there, put those under those categories, but we also are building and adding to them. And we love the Haslam School of Business. They're a great partner of ours as we're developing those programs for different levels of leaders as well as physicians. And looking at our own team members as a way to say, how can we grow people within the existing organization.
Rebecca, you want to take that, or Matt?
I'll just say there are a few positions where they do require specific licenses. So we'll look at a license and say, oh yeah, that's a requirement, or can we go ahead and hire them if they attain this license within a certain period of time? But for the most part, I always say hire smart people that have good problem-solving skills. They'll figure it out. They'll learn to make it successful. So if it's a position that doesn't specifically require a degree, we'll look outside the box. Another thing we'll do is we'll talk to a manager and he'll say, look, it has to have this degree, 10 years experience. And I'll say, well, what if you've got somebody that has 8 years experience, but they've been doing that job successfully for 8 years? So sometimes we get them to look at the years of experience and see if we can make that adjustment. You got to be flexible in this market. You're not going to find someone that's going to match 100% of what you're looking for. I always tell my managers, if you can find someone who's got 75% of what you're looking for and you enjoy working with them, hire that person over someone who's got 100% of what you're looking for and they're going to be a nightmare to work for you. So, be flexible.
Totally agree. One question that I ask all applicants of the company, which is relatable to transferable skills, I want you to rank this question, and I give you 4 characteristics: initiative, integrity, work ethic, and positive attitude. I want to see how you rank those, because those 4 things, you're going to be successful no matter what your job is within the company. It behooves everyone to have an open mind. I can train you for skill, but your initiative, your integrity, your positive attitude, I can't. You come with that. So I think if there's a position, if you're applying for something, to sort of flip side that, apply, because recruiters are looking for that something special, whether you have that specific degree and experience, unless it's something that truly is a qualification, a bona fide qualification. Otherwise, we're looking for, are you going to be a fit for the organization? I may hire you for a job today, but I want you to be there 10 years from now within a career. So that would be some things that we would look for sure.
Okay. Got one down here.
Thank you all for coming, and it's been a pleasure listening to you. My name is Grant Allard. I'm with CNS, and my question is, the first part of it is, how do you make the decision of making talent versus buying it? Then the second part is, as we all go through and build pipelines right now, how do we make that sustainable so when the labor market adjusts, we don't end up ourselves off a cliff or hurting our community by building pipelines that aren't sustainable in the long term?
So a couple of things that we do, I mentioned earlier, we have 2 programs in which we specifically hire to go into different roles within the organization. One's a plant manager trainee, and one's a sales resident. Their entire training within the company, it's between 18 and 24 months, is to get you to the next level. There have been times that we have overstaffed in our sales position, for example. We've taken those folks and created project management teams from them. There's always things that you can do in the organization. So we're putting them in customer support to solve problems. We're putting them in marketing to help solve problems if we don't have a sales position for them to go into, because those different areas are all key to their success once they're in an outside sales position. And when something does come available, we transfer them to one of those areas. That's how we've tried to work through that. And we have a strong internal promotional program for the company. A lot of our training and development initiatives are surrounding that. And it allows for a very broad perspective so that employees can transfer and do different things in different groups and not just be pigeonholed in one area. It allows for a good diverse perspective as well, would be some advice I would share with you.
I'm one of the outsiders at Oak Ridge National Laboratories because they do promote heavily from within. So you see a lot of people that have moved up. I'll meet someone and they've been there for 30, 34, 35 years. So we do have a strong program of moving people up, but we do look outside and we do build outside pipelines. And that you make a great point. How do you not lose that pipeline and keep that momentum that you've built? It's a balance. I don't know that I have an answer, honestly, for you, because that is a fear that I have, is we're building these talent pools, we're building these relationships, and you just don't want it to come crashing down. So my answer is I don't have an answer for you, really. So.
One example that I'll give you is that there was a program here for certified nursing assistant CNAs, which are really such a very critical part of the nursing population for the inpatient areas at our hospital. And some of those programs have closed in our community over the years. And so we've taken that approach to be able to train people and have our nursing education that have trained those folks. And then we've also created a different career path levels for nursing technicians for the standpoint of retention, and that's been successful. And it's that position, as you can probably imagine, is a high turnover position. There's also, from the standpoint of acuity, you can work at a long-term care facility and not, the patients are not as sick as they are at our medical center. And so we really look for a fit when we're recruiting for those positions and looking at the success of those training programs. So that's just one of the in-house programs that we have. We have some other ones, as well as training doctors and our residents there. But that was a decision that we had to make, that we just were having difficulty and we had to train them in-house.
So I think it's always important to think about your internal talent mobility opportunities, right? So what do you have in-house that you can cultivate up, you can train up, you can give people career ladders or career pathways within an organization? The other thing that I think is really important that challenges us all is, and Rebecca mentioned earlier, oftentimes we think about fit, right, for an organization. And I've been challenged with that because I think part of our responsibility also to interrupt this nature of pipeline, right, is our organization as flexible, diverse as it needs to be in terms of where our nation is going and where our talent pools are coming from? Are we challenging our D&I initiatives that really push the envelope around, is it fit, or do we need to shake up things a bit in order to get a different type of talent pool to come to your organizations? So I wonder sometimes if we kill ourselves or shoot ourselves in the foot as we think about, is that a fit for our current organization? I'm quite frankly thinking that our current organization is in flux. I would say that our workforces right now are in flux in terms of what they will evolve to post-pandemic. I just think the whole remote strategy, the competing with hiring people from Colorado or having people posted in different places is going to change the game in terms of what fit really looks like. I can't help also but I think we've got to be in tune to professional associations and organizations that are also feeders to our pipelines in terms of where do we really recruit from and where are our network streams that help us also think more broadly around talent and where that might lie. Specifically for me, it might be a SHRM, right? It might be a Coupa HR, which is Colleges, University Professional Organization for HR. I've got to always think about where can I leverage my network best to think about how am I broadening or constraining the pipeline that exists, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. I would love to just spend another hour, but I think we're already 20 minutes over schedule, so let's give our panelists a round of applause.